Welcome to Cosmic Wishes, where we turn wishes into cosmic wishes by applying science. Today's special guest is Dana Knoetgen. Herself, but I was on her show, God knows how long ago, and she's just such a delightful energy and spirit and soul and person. And so I wanted her on this show, and I'll let her introduce herself too, because I'm just excited to hear her wish and how we can make her wish into a cosmic wish by applying science. And just welcome to the show, and we're going to have some fun, draw some cards, and play some with some science. So Dana, tell everybody about you, and then we'll get into your wish after you introduce yourself.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I'm honored to be here with you. Yeah, my name is Dana Knoetgen, and I'm a podcaster with Like Talk with Dana. And I've been on the podcast now for 3 years, and we're just cruising around, just letting people know that the paranormal and supernatural is a part of everyday life. So everybody has a story that we try to include everybody into this. And so nobody's thinking they're crazy. So yeah,
Yeah, and what's fun
that's
about
me.
this is that I got into this whole idea of wishes and wishing. And for those who don't know me, I'm a storyteller, not a scientist. So if anybody in here is listening and they're like the hardcore scientists, I'm like, please give us comments, tell us what you think. Tell me where I got it right or wrong. That's all fine because I'm still learning and evolving. And it's also fun to look at this whole idea of the paranormal and all of the cool things that you explore and that I'm sure we talked about when I was on your show. And then also, like, how there might be a scientific explanation. Just because there isn't one yet doesn't mean there can't be or won't be. And that's what I thought about wishes. I mean, when I first got into wishes, I thought there's nothing scientific about that. That's just like what kids do on birthday cakes. And then I started researching. I was like, well, there is so much cool science that explains it, that can help us, that can strengthen all of this. And all of that's really great. So the idea is that for your fans and followers to get to know you better and know what you're wishing for. And if they're listening, they can also be thinking about what they wish for, and they can kind of be thinking about that in addition to how we're going to apply this. But I've got literally hundreds of what I call wish cards, science cards, and then I also have hundreds of what I call activity cards. So two different decks of cards. And I'm going to randomly draw a science card, and you're going to tell me your wish, and then we're going to talk about this science and how it might apply to your wish. And then we'll see where the discussion goes. It could go any one number of different directions. But first, tell everybody what wish we'll start with, and then we'll see how it might evolve through the show.
Let's go with inclusion, including everybody into their own world, into this world of metaphysical, not excluding anybody because they're feeling like they're crazy or anything like that. I want everybody to be included and not feel left out.
Okay, so maybe we could say that you wish for to create an environment of inclusion and welcoming people of all different kinds of faiths, beliefs, skepticism, questioning, super knowledgeable, the whole gamut. And you wish to create this environment for that so that people feel good with that. Okay. So I'm
Mhm.
just going to randomly draw a card over here. I have no idea what card it is. So this is, so this, you got a short card, so we may want to do this, but this is kind of fun. And the top of the card has the sciences that this this card relates to. And this is cognitive science and psychology, which are related, but not exactly the same thing. And this is really fun for you. And this is N1 equals experimentation. And what this means, it says, treat your life as a lab. Test what works for you, one person, one experiment at a time. So that's a science, right? That says, okay, you've just created this inclusion. Now, and this is your wish, is to create this environment of inclusion. And what you're doing within that is setting up so many different kinds of ways to look at this and so much experimentation. And might I also kind of put words in your mouth and say, and you wish for this science to be applied to the people in your group as well, that they'll see life as a lab and an opportunity for experimentation with an open mind and feel free to ask about it and explore it and share it and know that they've got a welcoming environment with you and your group and your show and all that. So tell me what you think. I just put words in your mouth, but tell me what you think.
I think that's great. I think it's the cognitive and the psychology is just really interesting how that came about because I have always been into how do people think and why do people think what they think and why do they do the way they do. When I first meet somebody, it's almost like, who are they? It's like the first questions I ask to myself. It's like, how did you grow up? What brought you to this point in your life? So all that cognitive and the psychology really clicked, really
Yeah,
clicked. It
it
really
really
came
does.
into. Mhm.
Yeah, no, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so
I'm
that's
sorry.
no, you're fine. That's how I look at people. And then it's like when they're on, let's say they're not on the greatest side, like they commit crimes or something like that. Then I get curious. What brought them to that point to make them do whatever actions they're doing? So it's like, who are these people? How did they get to where they are? Was this something from their past? Was it something that they're needing to learn? Is this something that was taught to them as a child? Why are they the way they are?
Right.
Not in a
And
judgmental way, just in
yeah,
a curiosity. How did they get there? Why? How? How? Why?
right, and really what you're referring to is a few things. One is the actual, obviously, the psychology and the cognitive science, and also the experimentation aspect of this, right? Is that the more you ask questions and the more open-minded you are, the more that you can learn from that. And so some of those people and some of the people that might be different people have different perspectives of the quote paranormal, right? And I know you and I've talked about things like reincarnation and things that some people go, that's really crazy stuff. And other people go, obviously, like that's just true. And so different people have different perspectives, and some of that comes from their background. And yet, the more open-minded you are and the more you start exploring, that's what science is all about, right? Is science is not taking things and saying, this is it, this is the answer. Science is always about continuing to explore, continuing to find the answers to that, and then seeing, okay, what can we learn from that so that we can transcend and evolve and improve and all of that kind of stuff. So this is, yeah, this is a fun card. And also maybe people are listening and they're in your group and thinking, okay, I got my sister or my relative thinks I'm a complete nut job because I think I have a ghost in my house or something. And I don't know if we talked about this before, but I actually did have a ghost in my house, so people can think I'm a nut job. And I'm like, yeah, but if you haven't experienced it, then how do you know? And that's and if you haven't experimented and been open to looking for signs and messages, then you're not going to find them. I mean, that's just brain neuroscience, right? Is that there's something called the reticular activating system. And that's one of the things I love about wishing is that once you have this wish in mind, then you're going to be looking for solutions for that. So one thing that would be fun to do with your wish is to add a little bit of neuroscience in there. And that is, okay, now you created a wish and that you wish to build this environment and inclusion. Now let's start experimenting with that and seeing who can make a comments in your group saying, even if they come in and say you're a complete nut job, then other people will go, well, how do you know? Did you test it? Have you tested these theories? I mean, have you seen it? Because, like, even for example, Carl Sagan said reincarnation deserves further study. I mean, you can't discount it if you haven't studied it. And there's enough evidence to say it's something worth studying. So, anyway, I'll let you interject and see what you think.
No, I mean, there is a science. There is, if you don't know about it, how do we know it even exists?
Right. And if you're
Just
not
like,
open to looking, you don't see it. Yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead.
just yesterday, I saw this guy that had a shirt on and it had a UFO on it and everything. He goes, I want to believe. And so I looked at him and I'm like, why don't you believe?
Mm.
And he's like, well, the science isn't there. It's not mathematically possible. And I'm like, so I started questioning him and started getting him going. And then he starts talking about experiences he's had. And I'm like, so you've had experiences and you don't believe there's more out there. Okay. Okay. So
Right.
this is kind
Well,
of like,
and that's really a great example. I told you, of course, shameless plug for my book, The Art and Science of Wishing. One of the things I talk about in there is the whole idea of the fact that there's a whole section on skeptics and having fun with skeptics. And you can have a lot of fun with skeptics saying, okay, you're skeptical. Good. Now do the research. See what scientists have found. I mean, if you're talking about UFOs, how do you define that? And is there alien life? I don't know that there are any decent scientists that don't think there has to be, right? Whether they've come here on Earth
there
or
has to
what
be.
format or whatever, that's a whole nother thing. But like, then you start finding certain evidence, just like I did when I was looking at wishing. I didn't know that there were dozens of sciences involved in wishes. I mean, I had no idea until I started looking into it. And there's like, oh, wow, there's this and this and this. And if the science isn't there, it might not be there. I mean, that's not so necessarily saying there's science of everything, but it also might be a warranted saying that maybe that's what his path is to start exploring the science. Maybe he can do some real research and find out the answer. Because if he wants it bad enough, he'll be looking for it and find some answer that may open up a pathway to something else. You never know.
And that's the science also could be that's the reason we connected in that we saw each other is
That's
to help him realize that, okay, I want to believe. So what's stopping me from believing? So I come about and I'm like, well, why?
that's right.
What's stopping you from believing in something that you have a shirt on for?
That's right. And the beauty of that is that I love this kind of situation because what you're saying is there's so many different possible explanations of why you saw him that day at that time and encountered him. And you can use a metaphysical explanation, and there's also a host of scientific explanations that say the same thing. And so which is the right answer doesn't matter. I mean, if it helps you live a more meaningful life, right? It's really, really cool. So I think we're on a good wish. Do we want to try an activity card and see what kind of activity we can play with that?
Sure, let's do this.
Okay, so I'm just gonna grab an activity card. Again, y'all, I mean, I've got hundreds of these and they're random, and I know some of them better than others, so just so you know, because I've been working on this like crazy. Okay, so this one gets into social psychology, psychology and neuroscience. So it does, and this one's simple, and I think it works. This is a good kind of synchronicity to what you're saying. And the title is Smile at a Stranger. Your assignment, smile at 3 strangers today, completely unnecessarily. Note what happens. Note how you feel. One small act of openness can confirm that the world contains goodwill. That proof can lift mood and spread. So smile at strangers.
I do that. I actually do that. I go up to somebody and just out of the blue, I'll just go up to somebody and say, you are very pretty. Just wanted you to know that. Or my big thing that I love to do with people is when I see two people holding hands, okay, I should come back a little bit. I was doing booths to help promote the school that was starting up. And I got kind of bored doing that, just standing there and everything. So I started talking to people. So I saw these people holding hands, and I'm like, hey, tell you something. I heard somewhere, never hearing this in my life, but I was like, I heard somewhere that when you hold hands, you live longer. Boy, they completely change just by saying that. They stand up taller. they look at each other and they squeeze each other's hands, and they're just like, they start really glowing when you say that. And I do it all the time. I've only had one person that says, I have to tell you something. And she, nope, 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 don't want to hear it. And she walked away from me. That's the only one that's done that. But everybody else is like,
And I mean, we're talking psychobiology that's happening, right? That they're getting the neurochemicals of the bonding and the oxytocin and the dopamine hits from your saying that, and that actually does help them live longer, right? And so, yeah, I mean, I actually had an experience of that too. That I'm living this nomadic life and staying in hotels, and so I go down to the breakfast every day. And this woman all of a sudden came up to me and she said, "Your smile, I see your smile every day, and it just makes my day." I'm like, and this is I don't know if this is bad to say or not, but I didn't even remember that I smiled at her. Like it was just such an instinctive thing that it wasn't like I looked for her and wanted to smile specifically to her. I was just being who I am. And people never tell you that usually. But she did, just out of the blue. She said that and said how what a difference it made. So smiling at a stranger may sound like a simple little activity, and now when we think about it and we weave it into your wish, right? Because that's kind of this vibe here, is that when you do that, then you can have people that maybe are looking for that. And maybe they actually on some level, conscious or subconscious or super conscious level, said, I really want to meet somebody who understands the things that Dana understands, like who gets this whole vibe of this world. I have a question she can answer. And that was the doorway to open. And so something was making that connection there. Some part of her brain or some part of her psyche was seeking you out because you're the answer, right? You may have that answer. And even if it's on one of the things I think it's so much fun about the subconscious is that millions of subconscious gets millions of impressions, whereas our conscious mind gets a tiny percent of that, right? So that your subconscious and her subconscious or super conscious and her super conscious could have been communicating on levels we don't even know.
I
Really, really
can
fun.
I can agree with that. I really think I can agree with that because some people, I just feel the urge more to go up to them and say these things. So I think there's something within. Like I'm going to say this. It might not really go along with it, but I'm going to say it anyways.
Okay.
I'm in church one day and we're sitting there and I keep getting this voice saying give her a hug. And there's this lady at the end of the pews there sitting by herself, just sitting there. And I'm like, I haven't met her yet. I don't know anything. And I'm arguing with this voice saying I'm not going to give her a hug because I don't even know her. And I finally, okay, okay. I went up, gave her a big hug from behind. And she turned around. She says, I really needed that. Thank you. So that kind of thing. And then we stopped after church. We went and we chatted, and she was telling me why she needed it. But, anyways, just how I kind of feel with some of these people that I go up to, I just feel like there's being a nudge of me going and saying, hey, you two need to hold hands more because you live longer, or you're beautiful. I love your hair. You have a great outfit. The outfit fits you perfectly. Or just anything like that. I just feel the nudge is like that person needs to hear this.
Isn't that beautiful? And that these are such
Mhm.
great examples of things that tie so beautifully to your wish, right? And really are tied to this whole idea of inclusion and from the experimentation science to where we are as far as this smile at strangers activity. And I just want to say to people listening, whatever your wish is, think about those sciences as well. And think about, like, are there ways to experiment more with your wish and add some validity to it and add some ways to test it to see, is it this best set, even if it's just an energy test saying, okay, I say my wish this way, or if I reword it a little bit differently. Those of us are those people who follow my whole art and science of wishing. know that I talk about the 3 Ps. The wish should be peaceful, positive, and purposeful. And so these are great ways to tie into that, and you'll feel the experimentation. Is this, can I make it more peaceful? Can I make it more positive? Can I make it more purposeful? And then also the smile of the stranger. And I just hope that people listening do this and take some of your examples and tell people that are holding hands that they'll live longer, and share it, and give us comments and share your ideas and thoughts and experiences, because that's really what this is all about. This is not just Brownell and Dana getting together, catching up and saying, "Hey," this is about really expanding on our wishes and wishing, and making the world a better place and with science. So I just
Yeah.
appreciate. Is there anything else you want to say before we say goodbye?
That's just fantastic. I love this. And it does kind of bring out little things. It's like you don't really think about you actually doing, but you like with me, I kind of think about it, but it's gotten to this point where I just say it. I see people holding hands, I just say this. And I have no idea where it came from. It just started up one day and now I just like I talk to everybody about it. And it just makes you kind of think those little things can make a big difference,
Make a
you know,
big difference. And
just a tiny thing.
yeah, a tiny thing can be the biggest things. Honestly, that's can be. You never know what you can do hugging that stranger that you got the message, or about holding hands or whatever. So it's just, you're such a beautiful person, and it's such fun having you and talking about this. And I just can't wait to hear what people say and think, and if they play these activities and apply these sciences, what they can teach us too.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. You're doing a great job. I have to get this book now. I'm intrigued with it. I'm excited to read it now. So yes, I thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. And keep an eye out for Brownell's TEDx talk coming soon. The Art and Science of Wishing, now available. And as a special thank you for watching to the end, please visit brownelllandrum.com/bonus for a free gift. May your cosmic wishes light the sky.